Hey guys, how's it going? Crass here. Today I'm bringing you a video about Wizard PvP builds, and I'll be showcasing two builds specifically, and I will have two videos after this one giving you gameplay of each build as well, just to kind of show you what you should be doing with the builds. And one build I want to mention that I'm not going to be going over is the Battle Mage build, because I feel that for a free-to-play player, that build just doesn't really do enough. It's not powerful enough, doesn't bring enough to the team to really make it worth it as a free-to-play player. And make sure to subscribe to catch those future PvP videos if you're interested in that, and leave a like and comment down below on anything else you'd like to see. And getting into it, the first build I want to showcase is kind of a classic build for Wizard. What most people you'll see will be using. And Magic Missile, for sure you want to use this primary attack over Electrocute, because the main benefit to Electrocute is being able to hit multiple enemies, and in a lot of cases that doesn't really apply for PvP, especially because you typically want to focus down one target as fast as you can, so the higher base damage on Magic Missile really helps out. And also the ultimate version is a lot more useful, I find, since it does have the frost added to it. And for the skills, I'm using Teleport, Ray of Frost, and Ice Crystal. And I'd consider these three kind of the core skills you should be using for this build. And then I have Black Hole in kind of a flex slot. And for our legendaries, I'm using the Shiverscent Stare. This allows our Ray of Frost to freeze enemies for 2 seconds after they take damage from the ray 6 times. Frost Reaver's Garments. Ice Crystal summons a Freezing Crystal. I'm using I think it's called the Enervators, but I have the Reservist gear so it doesn't show that. But this allows your Ray of Frost to shield you. And since we're using it with the Ice Crystal, it can stack up really high. And as a free-to-play player, that extra survivability, or just being able to, if you're in a spot where you know you're going to die, so you just keep shooting your Ray of Frost, it'll give you an extra second or two of damage out, and might get a freeze out to help your team. For our pants, using the Ice Crystal cooldown, there's really not much else. Like, it's not too exciting of an ability, but with the Ice Crystal being a high cooldown, still overall pretty good. The weapon here, this can be flexed even within this build. Right now I have the Magic Missile damage increased. However, if you find that you don't basic attack very much, the Negation Blade works really well since we're already using Black Hole. And we're using Devouring Void for the Black Hole. And kind of what that looks like is, it's like medium range, kind of helps peel enemies off of you if you know you're about to get jumped on, and it can really create some clutch plays and really save you. Ice Crystal, of course, and then your Ray of Frost, and Teleport for survivability. And if you did want to flex some skills here, I'd say other good options would actually be Ice Armor. And if you use Ice Armor, you'd want to use the Offhand Essence. Where is it? Hailstone. So this gives you 6 charges of damage immunity, kind of similar to the Necromancer Bone Armor, but it only applies to you, not your full team. It does have that extra chill effect that gets added to when they attack you, though. And it does really help a lot, especially in something like the Vault. I've noticed it helps a lot when I've used it. Otherwise, we also have Slow Time can be pretty good. If you use Slow Time, you definitely want to use the Loom here. It basically disables the use of all skills and basic attacks and their vision, so it can really lock someone out. It's very powerful. One thing I don't like about using this skill, though, is you have to give up the Shiver Scent Stare. So the Ray of Frost freezes enemies. And that's typically what I would consider one of the stronger parts of the build are. If you do want to go this route, I'd maybe even recommend changing Ray of Frost to Disintegrate, and then changing around some of your other essences, like the shoulders to the Fire Disintegrate Ray. And overall, this build is very powerful, very kind of like the basic build. Really good for a free-to-play player because it has a lot of CC, survivability, and the huge range, because when you're shooting at the crystal, that range of the Ray of Frost, it can go out from the crystal about that far as well. So you can be hitting people that you don't even see on your screen. The damage is still really good in this build, even though we are kind of CC based. Like for sure when I go from playing Necromancer to playing Wizard, I notice a big difference in the amount of kills I'm able to get as a Wizard using this build compared to using the CC focused Necromancer build. So this, I find it to be a really solid, especially for kind of like a newer player on Wizard, or maybe really good on mobile as well, since it's not too like fast-paced or skill-intensive in that way. So definitely a good build. For your set items, you want to make sure you have at least a 4-piece Grace of the Flagellant. 6-piece is good. It's not completely necessary though, just because it is a long cooldown, so it's not a real reliable effect to have in your build, but of course it doesn't hurt at all. Otherwise, you can use any other 2-piece to slot in, like a Mount Bank, Feasting Barons is okay, or even if you have just the 4-piece Grace and you don't have a complete set in the other items, that's okay as well. Don't worry too much about the combat rating of your pieces either. When you're in PvP, combat rating tends to matter a lot less, so you could even use lower tier Hell pieces if you have, say, like a 4-piece Grace of your current Hell tier, but you still have 2 old items. That's totally fine, doesn't hurt at all. For your gems, mainly you just want to focus on your resonance, since gem effects get reduced by 66% in PvP. It doesn't matter too much what the effects of the gems are themselves, so just try to get like rank 5 2-stars for that easy 150 resonance each, and then if you care a lot about PvP, try to replace them up for something like a rank 3 or rank 4 5-star gem with as many filled in stars as you can get. You can see I got a rank 3 2-star and a rank 3 4-star. Otherwise, that about covers this build. Now this is kind of a new build that I've been using, and I actually like it a lot more. I think it's a lot more fun than the other build. Like, I do have fun with the kind of Ice Crystal Ray of Frost build, but the main thing I don't like about that build is the long cooldown on the crystal, and you do kind of feel like you don't do that much damage and a little more useless while that crystal's on cooldown, or if you placed it in the wrong spot by mistake. This build, I'm still working on kind of the best like skill and legendary combo. I think I have it about right here though. And for your set items, it's the same as the previous build. You want at least a 4-piece Grace. 6-piece is good, but otherwise you can slot in 2-piece Mount Bank, 2-piece Feasting Barons. Doesn't really matter that much. For our skills, we're still using Magic Missile for the same reasons. Best single target damage, good ultimate. Teleport, definitely the most important skill for PvP, so we're still using that here. I would never probably run a wizard build without teleport if possible. We're using Meteor, Arcane Wind, and Disintegrate. And then the legendaries we're using Mask of Illusions. Here, I'll get my camera out of the way. Mask of Illusions, Starcaller's Drapery for the Meteor Radius. We're using the Disintegrate now channels Fire. Frozen Wellspring. This turns our Meteor into the Snowstorm. Wind Shaper to turn our Arcane Wind into the Tornado. And then Alder Crystal. This allows our Alder Wind to freeze a target if they're chilled when it damages them. And this build, the damage is actually really good. Compared to the previous build, this one really feels like you can melt people, even though it's still kind of focused on like the stunning, CC, and then you have your escape with the teleport, because you have the Meteor, so this doesn't cause burning anymore, so the Arcane Wind won't do Firestorm, and that's why we use Disintegrate here. So compared to the previous build, this one you do lose out on range because you're not using the crystal. If you do have wizards on your team though, you of course can use their crystal. That's not totally reliable, but our main kind of point of this build is you want to stun someone, you want to lead with the Meteor to chill them, and then you can drop that immediately on someone, and then you just start blasting them with Disintegrate. And even people like 2 or 3 times my resonance, I've noticed I can melt them in about 2 to 3 seconds, basically during that stun duration, or by the time the stun wears off, they're trying to retreat. But even without the crystal, Disintegrate still has great range, so you can almost kill them just like that, or chase them down with teleport. And I find it to be really powerful. I will say on mobile, it probably wouldn't work out that well because it's going to be a lot harder to, like, you could probably do the Meteor really well, but then trying to land the Arcane Wind could be difficult. I'd say try it out at least, see if it works for you. And yeah, that about covers this build as well. As far as some other options you could try, not even sure where I would start. I'd say the most replaceable legendary item is something like the chest piece. The radius doesn't matter all that much. And if you were to replace the chest, you can maybe go with something like a Lightning Nova. Otherwise, if you wanted to fit Scorch in here, you could put in Fire Flurry. That adds an extra stun, some extra damage, and another fire skill. I'd leave it up to you though on what you'd like to replace. Personally, I'd always keep teleport, but you can try replacing it if you want additional damage. And yeah, that about covers the build overview. Remember, I will have 2 additional videos after this, giving you a full game in Battlegrounds of each of these builds to kind of show what you want to be doing with them and my experience with the builds themselves. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those. And leave a like if you like the video. Comment on anything you'd like to see or if you have any questions. And I hope this helped. Peace!